People say heroes wear uniforms, badges, or capes. But that day, the only hero was a tired single dad walking home with his little girl, because while everyone else ignored the terrified woman screaming for help, he was the only one who stopped. What he discovered when he stepped toward her changed both of their lives forever. And by the end of this story, you will understand why his daughter still calls that night the moment Daddy's heart saved someone. The evening sky had turned a soft shade of purple, the kind that makes a person feel both peaceful and lonely at once. Daniel walked down the quiet neighborhood street, holding the small hand of his 8-year-old daughter, Lily. For most people, this was just another Tuesday. But for Daniel, moments like this, walks home after dinner, Lily swinging his arm as she told him about school, were all he lived for. Being a single dad was not easy. It meant constantly juggling jobs, schedules, and exhaustion. But he had learned one simple truth: tired wasn't the same as unhappy. He would rather walk miles home with aching feet than let his daughter think for a second she wasn't his priority. They were halfway down Pine Street when Daniel felt Lily's fingers tighten around his hand. She stopped, eyes widening. He followed her gaze. That's when they heard it, the sound that would change everything. A scream. Not loud, not dramatic, not movie-like. It was the kind of scream that broke midway, like the person screaming didn't have full breath. It came again, sharp, panicked, pleading. Please. Stop, let me go. Daniel froze. Cars kept driving. People walking their dogs glanced but kept going. A teenager with headphones didn't even turn his head. The world was moving, pretending not to hear. Daniel felt the hairs on his arms rise. Lily whispered, "Daddy, someone needs help." He wanted to tell her to stay calm, that maybe it wasn't what it sounded like. But Daniel had been a single dad long enough to know you don't lie to children to protect your own fear. The scream broke through the evening again. He turned toward the narrow alley between the bakery and the hardware store. A woman stumbled out, her hands shaking violently as she tried to break free from someone pulling her back. Her eyes met Daniel's first, desperate, terrified, begging. "Help me," she cried so loud her voice cracked. And that was the moment, Daniel felt something ignite inside him. A protective fire. Maybe it was fatherhood. Maybe it was the years of holding himself together alone. Maybe it was simply the truth that he could not leave someone's daughter, someone's sister, someone's mother helpless in the dark. He looked at Lily, who was trembling but trying to stand brave. He knelt, cupped her face, and whispered, "Stay behind me. I won't let anything happen to you." Then he stepped toward the alley. The man holding the woman was tall, wild-eyed, and clearly furious that someone had interfered. "Walk away," he growled at Daniel. "This isn't your problem." Daniel didn't flinch. "Let her go," he said, voice low but firm. The man shoved the woman to the wall and laughed. "Or what? You're here with your kid. You're going to play hero?" Daniel swallowed hard. Adrenaline rushed through him. He wasn't a fighter. He wasn't a soldier. He wasn't rich or powerful. He was just a single dad scared out of his mind. But when he glanced back and saw Lily clutching her backpack, eyes full of trust, something inside him shifted. He stepped forward again. "I won't say it twice." The man charged at him. The impact sent Daniel stumbling, but he stayed on his feet. Pain shot through his ribs as the man tried to shove him aside. But Daniel fought back, not with strength, but with purpose. Every second he held the man back was another second the woman could breathe. Another second Lily stayed safe. Another second he refused to be one of the silent people who pretended not to hear screams. He pinned the attacker long enough for the woman to run toward Lily, who held out her hand with fear and kindness mixed together. Daniel shouted, "Run to the light. Go." The attacker finally broke free, punching Daniel hard across the face before taking off down the alley. The woman sobbed as she reached Lily, and Daniel wiped the blood from his mouth, breath shaking but victorious. He hurried to them, putting one arm around Lily and one around the trembling stranger. "You're safe now," Daniel said quietly. But deep inside, he knew this wasn't over. Not even close. The police arrived quickly after Daniel called them, their flashing lights painting the quiet street red and blue. Lily stayed glued to her father's side as officers questioned the woman, whose name was Maya. She was still shaking, her voice barely steady enough to explain that the man who attacked her was an ex-boyfriend who had been stalking her for weeks. She had filed reports. She had tried moving apartments. Nothing had stopped him. Tonight, he followed her after work, and she had nowhere to run. As Daniel listened, he felt rage twist deep inside him. How many times had people ignored her cries before tonight? How many times had she begged the world to see her? He glanced around at all the windows, the houses, the people who had walked past. Tonight, they looked out from behind curtains with curiosity, not guilt. But Daniel knew better. He knew what silence cost. When the officers left with promises to search for the attacker, Maya swayed unsteadily. Daniel caught her arm. "You shouldn't go home alone tonight. He might come back." Her eyes welled with tears. "I don't have anyone else. I'm tired. I'm so tired of being scared." Daniel didn't think long. "Then come with us. Just for tonight. You'll be safe." Lily nodded eagerly, surprising both of them. Daddy always makes people safe. And somehow, that simple child sentence brought Maya to tears again. Only this time, tears of relief. At home, Daniel made tea while Lily brought Maya a blanket. The small apartment was modest, cluttered with school drawings and half-finished puzzles, but Maya sank into the couch like she had finally found a corner of the world that wasn't threatening her. She watched Daniel move around the kitchen, rubbing his bruised jaw, still wincing from the fight. He didn't complain once. "Why did you help me?" she finally whispered. "You could have walked away." Daniel sat across from her, leaning forward. "Because I know what it feels like when you're calling for help and no one listens. And because my daughter was watching. I want her to grow up believing that people matter." Silence filled the room, soft, emotional, healing. Later that night, long after Lily fell asleep, Daniel quietly checked the locks twice, then a third time. Maya watched him, hands clasped tightly together. "You don't even know me," she said with disbelief. "And you're protecting me." He shrugged softly. "Maybe the world doesn't need more people who know each other. Maybe it needs more people who don't walk away." That sentence hit Maya like thunder. For the first time in weeks, she slept. The next morning brought a knock at the door, one that made Daniel tense instantly. But when he opened it, he didn't find danger. He found half a dozen officers, and the attacker in handcuffs. They had found him hiding in a shed, scratched and furious. Justice had come faster than anyone expected. Maya broke down. But this time, they were tears of freedom. And as she hugged Daniel, Lily wrapped her little arms around both of them and whispered, "See? Daddy's heart hears people." And maybe, just maybe, that was true. Maybe the world didn't change because of loud heroes. Maybe it changed because of quiet single dads who refused to ignore someone else's screams.